Harper Audio presents Lonely Girl by Josephine Cox. Read by Carole Boyd. Part 1. Dark Memories. Tanner's Farm, Bucks Village, Southern England, 1960. Prologue. Crouching low beneath her bedroom window, young Rosie peered through the murky darkness of a cold November evening. Anxiously training her gaze along the pathway that ran by the big barn, she wondered if her mother might show at any moment. Rosie wouldn't mind if her mother stayed away forever, but she knew her father would be sad because he loved her, even though they were always arguing. So, for his sake, Rosie hoped her mother might somehow find her way home from the village pub where she worked as a barmaid. Often her shift would slip into her social life. She liked to drink and a laugh. She also liked the admiration of men who were drawn to her dark looks and enticing smile. Whenever her mother was late coming home, Rosie had good cause to fear the worst. Keeping her vigil at the window, she wondered what kind of mood her mother would be in if she did come home. Would she be in one of her dark rages? Would she be feeling spiteful and ready to fight with Rosie's father? Or would she be laughing and playful, or impossible to talk with, and so drunk she could hardly stand? Rosie could never decide which was worse, because whichever way it was, it always ended badly. Neither Rosie nor her father ever knew what to expect when Molly Tanner returned from a night out. She never spoke about exactly where she had been or who she had been with, and if John Tanner dared to pursue the truth, a fierce row would inevitably ensue, and Rosie would run upstairs in fear to hide under her bedclothes. Looking back, Rosie realized that nothing much had changed over the years, except that they had all grown older and a little wiser. Her mother was forever complaining that she was coming up to her dreaded 50s. She was still proud of her sultry looks, and rumour had it that she was still cheating on her loving and hard-working husband. Her dislike for her only child had reached the point where she could hardly bear to be near her. Molly Tanner had never possessed the strong maternal instinct that bonds a mother with her child. She had neither the instinct nor the wish to be a mother, and made that clear to all who would listen. Consequently, she played precious little part in Rosie's life. After a while, young Rosie had stopped caring. Her daddy had been, and still was, her whole life. If she was ever worried or hurting, it was her father's help she sought. She'd learned long ago that there was no point in seeking comfort or advice from her disinterested mother. The little girl had grown and flourished without her help. Growing irritable, Rosie brought her thoughts back to the present, where she continued watching out of the window. "Don't get upset because your mother never loved you," she told herself. "You're not a baby anymore. You turned 15, and very soon you'll be leaving school." Rosie was greatly excited at the prospect of leaving school. At long last she would be able to get a job, although she was adamant on one point. "When I do start earning a wage, I'll give it to Daddy, not to her, because she'll only spend it down the pub or on fancy clothes and makeup to impress the men she flirts with," Rosie resolved. Glancing at the bedside clock, she realized that she had been keeping her vigil for her wayward mother for over an hour. "I expect Daddy's worried sick. But what does she care, so long as she's having a good time?" she thought. She clambered up and closed the curtains. Then she crossed the floor to switch on the light, and for a while continued to pace back and forth, occasionally appearing through the gap between the curtains and growing increasingly agitated. The minutes ticked by, and with still no sign of her mother, Rosie went to sit at the dressing table. Absent-mindedly studying her reflection in the mirror, she was greatly relieved that she had not inherited her mother's striking looks, or her bad temper either. Although her own hair was waist-length like her mother's, that was where the resemblance ended, because Rosie's hair was the same light
Sample complete. Ready to continue?